You might have noticed that sometimes certain people seem to have this strange ability to influence, guide, or even control the ways others think. It's almost like they're able to tap into a hidden power, and before you know it, you're agreeing with them, nodding along, even when deep down you might feel a sense of doubt rising. The funny thing is, you can start to recognize when someone is using those tactics, almost like a hidden thread weaving through their words. And just like that, you can effortlessly tune in to those patterns that seem to repeat themselves in every interaction. And as you recognize them, you might find yourself becoming more aware of how these influences can slowly build over time. Now, when it comes to influence, most people don't even realize they're being influenced. It's like a kind of hidden dance, where one step leads to another, until eventually you've moved so far you can't remember how you got there. Ever had a conversation where you felt like you were just following along, but somehow you didn't even question it? Almost as if there's this gentle, invisible force guiding your thoughts, leading you to think, feel, and do exactly what was intended. When you look closer, you can see how your beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, just like that, they're getting molded, subtly shifted. You might be surprised at how easily your unconscious mind processes the smallest suggestion, and how it starts to filter and shape your reality in ways you never expected. What if, at any given moment, your thoughts could be guided by an unseen hand, an invisible force? Imagine how you could feel when you're fully aware of these dynamics, and how quickly you might notice the subtle shifts in conversation, in behaviour, in emotion. It's as if once you recognize it, you can't unsee it. It's right there, in the language, the tone, little shifts in the way that people say things. It can be so powerful, these little suggestions, almost like planting seeds in the fertile soil of your mind. Seeds that slowly grow and take root in your mind, without you even realizing it. As these thoughts grow, the person speaking may not even be fully aware of the power that they hold. They're just repeating patterns over and over, each one reinforcing the other. And that is when you start to realize their belief system is shaping the conversation, shaping your thoughts, and shaping your reality too. In a way, it's like an anchor. Do you ever notice how certain words or phrases to bring up feelings, or how a specific gesture or tone makes you feel something, even before you fully register it? It's like magic, isn't it? So you can instantly tap into a resource, an emotion, or a state of mind, just by recalling a simple trigger, a gesture, a word, a tone. You might start to see it now, how powerful anchors are in influencing our behaviour and emotions. Think of it this way. What if every time you heard a phrase or saw a gesture, your mind instantly recalled a positive feeling or experience? Wouldn't that be empowering? How quickly would you be able to shift your emotional state? And what if you could use that same principle on others in a subtle, almost unnoticeable way? But here's the thing. The moment you notice it, it loses its power on you. It's like stepping out of a trance. Suddenly you see how the mind has been responding to these tiny shifts, these changes, and how you can, at any moment, redirect your focus, shift your emotional state, or even change your behaviour simply by recognizing any pattern. What if you could spot these patterns before they even begin? You might wonder, how is it some people, even in the face of clear evidence, continue to hold on to their beliefs so tightly? It's fascinating, isn't it? It's like a switch in the brain. This thing is called denial, and it causes the mind to shut down anything that threatens the self-image, the identity that they've built. When they hear something that doesn't fit into their world, it's almost as if their mind erases it. It's a defense mechanism, protecting the belief they hold so dear. The question is, what happens when you become aware of that process? You see, once you understand the mechanisms at play, how patterns are interrupted, how suggestions are made, how emotions are anchored, you begin to take back control. You begin to notice how these influence techniques, They're at work in everyday life. And just as easily, you can change the game. You can become the one in control of your responses, your choices, and even your beliefs. How do you do this? Well, first, you start noticing when someone is trying to subtly guide your thoughts, almost like a gentle suggestion being placed in your mind, without you even realizing it. Once you see it, it's like a light bulb goes off. You begin to realize, that's the pattern. And from that moment, you begin to see through it. It's almost like you've been given a key to unlock the hidden forces that are around you. You see, as you begin to understand these forces, these little hidden nudges, you realize you're no longer bound by them. You can simply observe them without being pulled in. You can choose how to respond. And isn't that a powerful feeling? And as you begin to resist these subtle techniques, you might notice those who use them start to become less effective. They start to lose their grip because you've begun to recognize their methods, their tools, their strategies. You've learned their language of influence. And once you understand the patterns, it's almost impossible to be manipulated in the same way again. And then there's that moment when you realize not everyone who uses these techniques knows they're using them. Some people, they're simply repeating what they've learned, with the belief that it works. They've convinced themselves, and in doing so, they might be convincing others. And yet, despite all their confidence, deep down, there's something inside you that knows the truth. You can see the cracks in their facade. Isn't it fascinating how easily the mind can fall into these traps? But even more fascinating is how quickly the mind can break free once it becomes aware. It's like a switch, a sudden shift in perception that changes everything. So the next time you encounter someone using these techniques, whether it's in NLP, hypnosis, or even a more subtle form of influence, you can recognize it. You can see it for what it is and take back your control. Because once you know how to spot the patterns, there's no going back. And imagine for a moment how it would feel to be able to influence others, to guide conversation, to shift beliefs, without even needing to raise your voice or force your will. Just by using these hidden tools, these tiny shifts, you could effortlessly lead people to the conclusion you want them to make. Wouldn't that be an empowering skill to have? The best part is, as you continue to notice these patterns, this dance of influence, you begin to realize how much more power you hold. You see it everywhere, in conversation, in meetings, in casual interactions. You start to notice those who are trying to guide you subtly shift your beliefs, and you can choose to engage or disengage at will. And as you become more aware of these dynamics, you may find yourself feeling more confident, more grounded, more centered in your own beliefs. The more you know, the more you're able to direct your life, your thoughts, and your responses in ways that support your true self, and not to influence others. Now that you understand how these influences work, how your beliefs can be shaped, how anchors can trigger emotions, how compliance can slowly be increased, imagine what you can do with this knowledge. How much more in control could you be? How much more can you achieve by recognizing and stepping out of these patterns when you need to? You've just opened a door, a new world, and in that new world, the power to shape your beliefs, your responses, and even your reality is in your hands. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen your mind, to become more aware, and to move with confidence and clarity through the ever-shifting world of influence.